calculate periodically compounded interest. Now, notice here you're dealing with compound interest and periodically. So this means different periods. Periods being months, days, weeks, years, semi-annually, all kinds of different periods of time, and then compound interest. So first, what is compound interest? Well, when we're talking about compound interest, we're talking about interest that is calculated on the principal and then reinvested each time period, right? So we calculate the interest on that regular interval, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever. So we calculate it. So you have your principal and we calculate the first thing of interest. So now we have this new value. We'll call it P1. So then we calculate interest again. That gives us P2. So every time the interest is added onto whatever our balance was. So it's constantly, our interest is constantly growing and our principal is constantly growing. Now, that's if we are investing in like a savings account. If this is a loan, there's a whole lot more complicated business, but we'll get into that on a different video. So the formula. Now, this looks tricky, but it's really not that bad. So A sub t equals P times the quantity 1 plus R over N raised to the entire NT power. You might also want to put that NT in parentheses because we need that multiplication to all be in the exponent. Now, this also confuses some people, okay? This A sub t simply means this is the ending amount. That's the A, ending amount after T years. So when you see something that might look like A with a 5 in it, it just means what is the amount after 5 years. That's all that 5 is telling you of how long we're doing this, okay? So if we look down here, so A is the amount after T years, P is the beginning amount or the principal, R is your annual percentage rate. Make sure you change that to a decimal. And then N is the number of times it's compounded each year. So if we are talking monthly, then N would be 12. If we're talking quarterly, right, there are 4 quarters in a year, so N would be 4. So you really have to pay attention to the wording throughout the problem to see what is your value of N, and then make sure you put that in there twice. Okay, let's jump in. And I'm going to do 2 examples. If the first one is good enough for you, you can quit watching after then, but I'll do 2 different periods so you can see how the formula changes a little bit. Okay, so first, you invest $7,000 in an account earning 1.8% interest compounded monthly. If you make no other deposits or withdrawals, how much would be in the account after 8 years? Round to the nearest cent. Now, it's kind of important that we say no other deposits or withdrawals because that means only the beginning principal is what we're talking about here. So first, let's identify everything we know. We're investing $7,000, so that's our principal or our beginning amount. I'm earning 1.8% interest, so that's my rate. And let's go ahead and change that to a decimal. So I move it 2 places to the left, 0.018. We're compounded monthly. That means N is 12 because there are 12 months in a year. And it says after 8 years, so the time is 8. So now let's revisit our formula. A sub t equals P times the quantity, 1 plus R over N raised to the N times T power. If you sometimes struggle with formulas, I highly recommend that you write it down every time. Because if you write the formula down in symbols first, then substitute in your numbers, it's going to help you remember and be able to use them more effectively. So now let's go ahead and substitute in what we know. So I want to find the ending amount after 8 years. That's all that means. A sub 8 simply means the amount after 8 years. The principal is 7,000. Then I have 1 plus 0.018 over 12 raised to the 12 times 8 power. Now, you can absolutely type this into your calculator exactly like you see it. The only thing I would recommend is that you would put 12 times 8 in parentheses after either the caret or you might have a Y to the X button. Either one of those kind of shows that you're dealing with an exponent. Okay, so that's kind of important. But if you do that, it should come out nicely. If you're not a one time into the calculator kind of person, then you're going to want to do your exponents first. So 12 times 8 is 96. Then you're going to want to do inside your parentheses. So that's your next step. then raise it to the exponent, then multiply by 7,000. So the order of operations really matters. And your final answer, $8,083.32. If you want to see a more step-by-step, I have other videos where I talk through formulas step-by-step and show each step of the order of operations. But the final answer, the amount after 8 years, again, that's what this means, is $8,083.32. Now, let's do another one. This one was monthly. Let's do a video about weekly, right? So you invest $5,000 in an account, earning 2.4% interest compounded weekly. If you make no other deposits or withdrawals, how much would be in the account after 6 years? Again, I recommend writing down what you know. P is 5,000. R is 0.024. We're compounded weekly. Now, that means there are 52 weeks in a year, and the time is 6 years. So, when I'm looking at my formula, A sub t equals P times 1 plus R over N raised to the N times T. And I substitute my values in. 5,000 times 1 plus 0.024 all over 52 raised to the 52 times 6 power. Now again, if you use the all at one time, just make sure to put your exponents in parentheses. Otherwise, sometimes I do just like to do my exponents by itself. So 52 times 6 is 312. And then I type them in. So here we get the answer of $5,774.23. So that is how you would compound weekly. So I really just wanted to show the difference between, if we are using weekly, how we have 52 right here, versus monthly, which gives us the 12. So it just really makes sense to make sure you're reading carefully of how we're compounding and how that changes your value of N.